Welcome to the Wake Up Call for the Soul podcast with Bill and Claire, where we go deep and wide on subjects intended to support our awakening to greater truth, beauty, goodness, freedom, joy, peace, harmony, and love.
Well, I was wondering, for you, is there like a big difference between manifestation and prayer? Because to me, I see them almost like two different practices.
Hmm. Well, tell me more, tell me how they're different for you. That might help me to express where
Yeah.
I'm coming from. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, I have to think how to really explain that because I don't think I've ever fully fleshed that out. Um,
That's cool. We're just talking here. It's all good.
I think, okay, well, I could be on the wrong track, but let's just go with it. Um, for prayer, I always felt like well, because like I come from like a religious background, so I always felt like it was like, you start the prayer and the gratitude and everything, and then you ask for something.
Hmm.
Um, and it's kind of like a conversation or a connection between you and source.
Hmm.
Whereas manifestation, I felt like was almost its own practice in the sense of like there's these techniques that people give and these like guidelines. I guess people do that with prayer too, but it felt very different. It feels more like almost like you're not asking, you're like saying. It's that whole like co-creator thing of like, I am putting this out there, I am creating this, I'm not asking. Um,
Hmm.
and there's just like these other steps that it feels like. Um, so
Hmm.
I guess that's if you more so believe that it's something you do at a point in time rather than believing like you're constantly manifesting whether you mean to or not. I guess there's like different schools of thought, but I guess those are kind of the main differences that I thought. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I no, I totally get what you're talking about there. I I learned I learned about the law of attraction through sources that were really focused on the law of attraction as it applies to the soul.
Okay.
And then several years later, this book came out and Oprah made it a bestseller and they had a movie. It was called The Secret, Rhonda
Oh
Byrne,
yeah.
that whole thing and everything. And actually I have a couple of her books on my bookshelf. And she came out, with her take on the law of attraction, which was much more materialistic as opposed to being on the spiritual side of things. And I found it sort of interesting because they're talking about the law of attraction, and I'm like, huh, because I had been practicing it differently for several years before the book was released. We're dealing with laws, and so how we approach things, how we engage with these laws, it determines like the outcomes, the results that we experience, whether consciously, unconsciously, whether in the moment or, years, decades, centuries into the future, where we're like, oh, that's what was going on. And it's interesting, right? Because so many people associate prayer with um this asking. I think that in a lot of ways, I think that's kind of the crux of what you're talking about, is that many people see prayer as like asking, saying, would
Hmm.
you please? And lots of people who are playing the law of attraction, manifestation game are like, they're not asking, they are offering a command sort of to the universe saying, this is real for me. This is true for me. It's not an insignificant difference between those two things because it's so interesting to be aware of or to listen to how people pray, you know?
Hmm.
And so much of what happens in the world of prayer, at least in my experience in religious communities and things, is that there's a lot of doubt and hesitation kind of baked into my experience of a lot of people's, I'll call them religiously expressed prayers. Kind of like you're saying, right? Like, I'm asking for something, but I'm not really sure if I deserve it or if it's the right thing. Like, there's a lot of lack of certainty in things. And so, my background is more in the Christian realm. So I'm going to go to the Lord's the what people refer to as the Lord's Prayer. So it goes something like some version of, Our Father who is in heaven, blessed be your name, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And then it continues, give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation. Deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever and ever. Amen, depending on the denomination or things. The interesting thing about that prayer that is expressed, that is put on the lips of Jesus within the Gospels, I think you can find it in Luke and Matthew. I think it's in both of
Hmm.
those. Um, like, is there any asking in that prayer? Is there a
Mm.
question mark?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, and so I find it interesting that most people's prayers, as I hear them verbally expressed, anyways. I mean, they're very much they don't have that kind of power. I mean, like it, the power of saying like your kingdom come, meaning your divine reality. I expect to see it in this world as it currently exists in the highest heavens. Like that's what I hear Jesus saying in that, in that piece of it. And everything after it is really like, this is so, this is so, and this is so, and this is so. Like there's no like, would you please, if you have time, what I mean?
Hmm.
It's not mamby-pamby, just like, I don't know. No, no, no. Okay. So I think in that way, like the folks on the manifestation side are a little bit closer because I mean, even though there's a lot of mindful overlays on it, like what a lot of them are trying to get to is this level of certainty, of confidence, of acceptance of, that this is a fact, this is real, it is here and it is now, and I affirm it in its existence, and there is no doubt, I mean, there's no question that this is real. Even if I can't perceive it with my biological senses right now, I know it's real, and it's just a matter of it showing up.
Hmm.
At some point, I'm going to see it. I know it. Like I absolutely know it. And you let it go, and you're good. I mean, that to me, in a lot of ways, it's actually more faithful than a lot of what passes for a faith and prayer in at least the a lot of the religious organizations I've come across. And again, like I guess I'm going to go back to these soul desires, right? Because if okay, so here's what I perceive about soul desires. Every soul is unique. Every soul has unique soul desires, which then means that no soul's desires will conflict with any other soul's desires. Whereas at the level of mind, my desire for a Ferrari could conflict with your desire for eco-friendly vehicles. Okay, I don't know, maybe they make an EV,
Hmm.
but it doesn't matter. Anyways, like so our at the level of mind, our desires can be completely in conflict, but at the level of soul, all soul desires are designed to operate in unity and harmony with absolutely every other soul desire throughout all of the, I'll call it the omniverse. There's no conflict, there's no competition because each one is so unique and special and actually intended to be a part of kind of the divine design of all that is, that there's no issues that way. And so I guess for me, when when I pray, yeah, for me, I don't see the difference between prayer and manifestation, but the way that I pray is not like how most people pray, as far as I can tell.
Hmm.
Because when I pray, what I'm basically doing is I'm doing my best to express the longings, the yearnings of my soul for that which my soul desires with as much, whatever you want to call it, trust, faith, certainty, knowing that the response to that desire is absolutely certain. And, every time that I do this and my soul desires are responded to, then my mind, my material mind gets another nugget that's like, oh boy, it really works. Oh, it worked again. It worked again. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Hmm.
You did it worked. It worked. It worked. It worked. My prayer is the expression of these longings. And when I desire to to manifest something, it's the exact same process. Now, I will say that I am a bit challenged, like in terms of my practice, that there are certain things that are of a particular scale that it is challenging for my mind to accept those possibilities, or there are certain blocks and limitations that I'm expressing when I consider myself to be more because so yeah. So my mind still has these programs, these ideas that it works differently, but it's not actually true. So this is really good conversation for me because like I know when it comes to spiritual substances and realities, like it happened and my perceptions are usually fairly timely in terms of expression of desire and experience of response. Okay. Right. And we're dealing at higher frequencies. Subtler levels of reality. So it's much easier for me to put out the desire and be like, oh, wow, I got the response. Thank you. Desire, response, desire, response. Then when you translate a soul desire into something that is more physically manifest, there is typically more of a delay if that thing requires a whole bunch of steps in order to come into existence, like say, I have a desire to create a particular kind of mobile application. Well, Source cannot just, as far as I know, bring about a mobile application and sit it in front of me and say, that's what you want. Because I exist in this material reality, steps need to be taken. People and resources need to be engaged. Knowledge needs to be learned. Things need to be done. And so there are all these steps. And so I am sometimes challenged when I'm dealing with something of scale, size, scope, or complexity that where then it's like it's more challenging for me to feel into that. But the thing that I can trust is that, like, even when it comes to that mobile application, like, I'm very clear on what that mobile application is supposed to achieve. And so I continue focusing on the essence of that, even as I might be challenged in terms of attracting that specific form of the mobile application fully realized, and functioning in the way that would support the essence of my desire. So, whew, okay. I don't know if that made sense, but that's
Yeah.
thanks, boy. You got good stuff, good questions. I'm just like, whoa. Ooh, yeah. 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 So I do, my mind still has these beliefs that are false and limiting, that somehow the laws work differently when it comes to material stuff. And really the only difference has to do with the experience of things that the things that we refer to as time and space, because there's nothing preventing me from feeling the desire of what it would be like for that application to be in existence. Because then if I feel the feelings, whether the app comes or not, the essence is coming into being, if that makes sense, right? That the essence of that desire is coming into being, even if the specific mobile application that I have imagined and visualized is not yet in form. Yeah,
Hmm. Okay. Okay.
yeah. Mm.
Wow.
Wow, yeah. Just like, oh, mm.
Hmm.
Oh. Yeah, so is there something you're looking to manifest and like and let's say not for another person but like for yourself, like something that you would really deeply desire to experience and it either feels so far away or seems impossible or whatever. And again, let me just be clear. I mean, if we can talk about this either in terms of specifics, if you feel comfortable with that, or if you want to keep it more general, that's fine too. Or if you want to avoid the topic altogether, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, I guess something around that topic that I feel conflicted about is manifesting wealth,
Hmm.
specifically like financial wealth.
Hmm.
Um, there can be a lot of guilt, sometimes even in the spiritual world, for desiring those things,
Hmm.
um, because it's like materialistic or worldly.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then also in sometimes even in like religion or even secular spaces, like it's almost like people think that it's wrong to have those things, even though like as a society, like people want to signal that they have wealth. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like,
Oh, I
oh, it's bad
yeah.
if you have it, but also it's bad if you
Hmm.
don't have it. So shame
Hmm.
both ways. Um, or like, yeah, it's tricky. And then I guess people say like, oh, you're not supposed to manifest things like that. Like it's bad
Hmm.
if you do that.
Yeah.
Um, but I think what I really want is like the security and the comfort that comes with that. And the sometimes
Hmm.
having financial wealth can give you, um, sometimes it can give you more space to move around in the world and more options for things. Um, and so I guess it's hard to know because I feel like, oh, like if I feel really guilty about trying to manifest this, like, is that gonna block it? And like, am I even supposed to be asking for this or trying to co-create this and, stuff like that. So
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
kind of one of those controversial topics. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, no, I mean, in this world, things like religion, sex, politics, money, like those are the
Hmm.
things that we're not supposed to talk about, right? Like in polite company or whatever, at least in
Hmm.
my white middle class sort of cultural background here in the United
Hmm.
States, and no, that's a great question. So when, when I think about it, I'm going to go back to that essence, and you touched on it. Like, you talked about wealth, but then you started to go to, well, but what do I feel that this would give me? What
Hmm.
feelings, what experiences, perceptions would be possible for me? I heard security, I heard comfort. You said something about more space options. I read that
Hmm.
as something related to freedom of choice or expression or something in that realm. Um, and so for people who desire to attract greater material wealth, the key thing is to what are the essences you are going for? Because people do it for different reasons, right? Like there are people
Hmm.
that their main thing for money is it gives me options,
Hmm.
or the essence of it is freedom, or the word could be even for people control,
Hmm.
whatever
Hmm.
that means for them. It could mean even something more specific like freedom of expression. It could be the ability to say no to people. I mean, like the possibilities for because money is this blank sort of canvas that people paint all of their desires upon, thinking that if I have more of it, that my capability of achieving or receiving or experiencing these desires is somehow increased. And
Hmm.
so if someone is willing to ask themselves the question to say, you know what, instead of money, or not instead of money, if so if I'm telling myself a story that I want more money, why? What is it that I think that money is going to give me that I deeply desire? And for them to then get in touch with those feelings, with those perceptions, with those longings, and to continue to allow themselves to be in that space of feeling, of desire and longing, and doing their best to express again, trust, faith, knowing, certainty that these desires are being responded to by source, by the universe, by all that is, in helping that person to experience those essences. And so the responses to those essences, it might not be money that can give them that, right?
Hmm.
Because there are people who get more money. Like you said something about, like, well, there's this conflict, right? Oh, I get more money. Now I feel guilty about it. So if you and I know that no one deeply desires to experience guilt, right? Guilt is a more superficial experience of perception and feeling and emotion and things. So, but if someone is so focused on attracting the form of money and yet they have fears or doubts about it, then whatever money they do attract, there's a good chance once it passes a certain threshold that they will experience guilt at that amount,
Yeah.
right? Right. I mean, they just can't help it because the guilt's there and they never dealt with the guilt. They never allowed that to be healed or whatever. And so, oh, I've now achieved a net worth of $750,000. Oh, I feel guilty now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do I have too much? And how did I get this money? And did I do it the right way? And am I invested in the right companies? Or blah, 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 blah. Just you go down the list with this stuff. So, but the beautiful thing about following the essences of our desires is that it's possible, say in your case, you desire, I'll call it security, comfort, and freedom. These are the
Mm-hmm.
things that you're associating with money. I'm sure there's lots of other things. Again, it's kind of this blank slate that we can throw whatever on it and say, hey, money, carry this burden for me. So, uh, but security, comfort, and freedom. So if you allow yourself to feel into the essences of those things, like the unique qualities of what they mean to you, like how you would feel, what your experience of life, your experience of yourself and other people and everything and everyone would be if these qualities and essences were really suffused into your existence. And it's possible that you would, in that case, attract money, the proper amount of money that would support the expression of those desires, right? And you would also attract other things. You would attract people, circumstances, situations, awarenesses, maybe even abilities, knowledge, employment, relationships, communities, places. All of these things then come on because if you follow the essence, then you can experience the essence in the present moment. You can allow it to be drawn to you over time, and then all of these things kind of naturally and organically accrue to you as a human being, so that your experience is one of the essence of whatever security is to you, the essence of whatever you mean by comfort, whatever that is deeply for you, not just in your mind, the essence of freedom and whatever, that you described it, more space and options. So the essences of those things then can be experienced across a wide variety and array of all of those things I described and more, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. And then that way, um, probably as part of that process, like if you feel guilty about money, you'll probably attract the circumstances that would heal you of the guilt, because again, you're focusing on the essences you desire, and you can't really experience those essences if you've got this guilt thing running, that once you pass a certain level of net worth, that this is now a problem. I need to be
Mm-hmm.
guilty or ashamed of whatever about this. So that stuff also gets healed en route to the, and again, what's an outcome? We'll call it a result, to the desired result, which is the fullness of the expression, the experience of these essences that come from deep within you.
Mm. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't see that. I don't see the stuff that we're talking about much on the Law of Attraction Reddit. I'm not going to say I read a lot of stuff, but when I do reply to things, I try to read a little bit to see what other people are saying. And yeah, and like I said, I try to drop in my own nuggets in terms of, this idea of that we have like deep desires, not just superficial ones that we've copied from other people, that where we use
Mm-hmm.
other people as models as a shortcut, to say, oh, well, it looks like that thing that they have uh, gives them X. And so I want the thing that they have so that I can get X. Whereas the thing might not even give them X. And there's a really good chance that if we attract the form of that thing, we will not experience X. We will not experience the thing that we actually desire, because we've
Mm-hmm.
attracted a form, and the form is relatively empty of essence. And so, I mean, this happened to me all throughout my life, where I had this idea, oh, I'll get this degree, or I'll achieve this thing, or I'll have this experience. And and every time I experienced the form that I desired, I mean, it was a wonderful educational opportunity. Afterward, like I had an initial sense of sort of satisfaction and enjoyment, but then I was left hollow.
Mm.
I was left feeling empty. And it took me, quite a few years to realize, oh, that emptiness, that's actually a thing. And what I actually desire is I desire these deeper things. I desire to experience freedom and inspiration and contribution and, you know, these other types of essences related to being and expression and contribution, as opposed to what I could get, what I could receive, And so that's the thing. I mean, the people, who really are probably maximizing the law of attraction, the law of sympathetic harmonies, are really the people who, because of their desire to contribute and their willingness to follow those deep feelings of a desire to contribute to people, in ways that are unique and individual to them, that then they are able to attract all of the means, all of the mechanisms, all of the people, relationships, information, circumstances, everything needed in order for them to express that desire for contribution.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's this distinction between being and doing. So doing is the form, being is the essence. And so, we are called human beings. Our primary purpose is to be who we are. And yet, most of us in the conditions on this planet at this time are very attached and sort of addicted and whatever you want to call it to the doing. Like, what am I doing? What are they doing? How am I doing it? Like all of these things that are very measurable and observable and countable, and and yet, like a lot of my practice, a lot of things that I've realized over the past few decades is that like the real power is in being, the ability to be more of who we are in any given space or time with people. Because if we can be who we really are, if we can really enjoy that and be at peace with it and not be in a space of having to prove or to do or to accomplish, it's the most attractive thing there is, right? Because if I am truly being myself without apology, without hesitation, without doubt or fear, judgment or criticism toward myself, I mean, then there's nothing in the universe that can stop everything that is in alignment with that way of being, from being attracted to me to being manifested to being co-created, pick your word. To me, it's all the same, that those things absolutely have to be. Like they cannot be any other way because I am being who I am and I am comfortable in expressing those things that are deep within me. I'm not afraid to feel or express them. I don't hide them. I don't bury them. I don't deny them or ignore them. I allow them to be expressed, and therefore everything that harmonizes and aligns with those deep desires and feelings, it has to come into being because that's the law. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know that's absolutely rock solid true for me,
Hmm.
and again, I'm in my own way of imperfect expression of that, looking to do better all the time. So,
Yeah,
aren't we all?
definitely.
All right.
Trying.
Yeah, we're doing our best. Yeah. Is there anything that you would like to express before we wrap here?
I think I'm okay.
Cool. Yeah. That being piece, it's landing differently for me now. That's very interesting.
Mm.
Something's clicked more on that for me in this conversation. So yeah, thank you for showing up and for being you, and for your questions and your inquiries, your patience and your listening. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was nice.
Cool. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Wake Up Call for the Soul with Bill and Claire. May we love ourselves and all more and more with each passing moment. We wish you the very best and highest. Until next time.